ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. Clay, missed you last week, my man, at the end of the week. Bill Bender and I soldiered through, but I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah. I've got some, I got some asthma stuff that goes on, and you get the cold weather, and then you get
the mix and match,
whatever. So I'm got all kind of inhalers and albuterol.
Right.
But let me tell you,
you got your personal nurse standing right over here off camera.
I wish. 32 in snow, and it's November what, 10th? Yeah, November 10th.
Hey, dude, it snowed it snowed the day of the Ohio State Penn State game back in October in 1993, as we talked about. You can get snow any time of the year.
No doubt.
Almost. And so I'm not. The great news is I'm playing golf on Thursday when it's supposed to be 55. That is, if all this other stuff melts by then. But
I hope you're playing at the Ridge.
I get those glow in the snowballs. You know what I mean?
But this weather, it's so much. It's big.
Feel like football weather, brother.
It feels like November 29th in the big house, and the proverbial question: can the Buckeyes run the ball?
Yeah, but I thought they proved a lot of things.
Yeah.
Now that was against Purdue, which is winless in the Big Ten. Of course, so is Penn State, right?
Yeah, 6 in a row.
But the bottom line is, Ohio State did run the ball on Saturday, the number one team in the country, and they, once again, they used 4 backs. Matt Wilhelm and I talk about that in our Mondays with Matt segment coming up in the second half of this show, because he and his son made news last week by finally getting that offer from Ohio State.
How about that?
And feeling like it, how legit it was, et cetera. Basically committed to Ohio State, and now another Wilhelm is going to be headed to Ohio State. Well, you say that nothing's official until wherever they call it, the financial papers are signed anymore. In February, in December,
right.
The early signing period. Although the early signing period is now the signing period. There's a late period in case there's some stragglers now in February. But the bottom line is that's all gone. But Ohio State goes to Purdue, wins 34-10, gives up a late touchdown against basically backups on the Ohio State defense. Really, the only people that really upset were maybe the starters on the defense who were looking for another, non-touchdown performance. But probably not as much as people who bet the spread, because Ohio State was 7-0-1 versus the spread going into Saturday, and I think the spread ended up like 29 points finally, and it ended up being 24 difference. I feel sorry not for anybody who is foolish enough to put hard-earned money
on a college game,
on any kind of game, any kind of sporting contest where an if, and, or but can change your quote fortune, end quote. So I don't feel sorry for you at all. It is what it is. Some people get into conspiracy theories of so and so wanted to see it go. What a bunch of baloney. And even if it's not, it's still baloney. You know what I mean? You get it at the deli stand right next to the pastrami. But Ohio State rolled on. Ohio State's now 9-0. At this time in 1968, the 1968 team was number 1 in the country and finished its regular season with a victory over Michigan and went to the Rose Bowl and won. And for the first time since 1957, I'm talking about, talks about 61. Nobody counts that except Ohio State occasionally. Mm-hmm. But first time since 57, Woody Hayes and Ohio State were number 1 again. Finished number 1 in the polls. They had a second-year player named Rex Kern as their starting quarterback. Of course, back then, freshmen weren't eligible. Ohio State has a redshirt freshman, Julian Sayin. Of course, he was here all year last year, much like Rex Kern rode the pine as a freshman. Julian Sayin was here all year last year. And now he's the starting quarterback of record. He's 9-0, still leads the nation in completion percentage.
He went up 2/10.
Exactly.
80.9.
And he also threw a regrettable interception, which, occasionally have those brain fog plays. Even the great ones have brain fog plays. That was a little bit of a brain fog throw. But the bottom line is he's getting it done. In my opinion, he still should be the front runner for the Heisman. I don't base my Heisman assessments on knee jerk or one play. You can say the Fernando Mendoza pass at the end of that game at Penn State was unbelievable play.
Mm-hmm.
The wide receiver had to make an unbelievable catch and get his foot down to complete it for them to beat a team that was on an 0-5 run to start the Big Ten or whatever they were, 0-5. Penn State now 0-6. But it was still a hell of a play. It was a hell of a drive when they needed it. Last second drive. What they start that with 45 seconds left? I think it was.
Yeah, it's the drama that the Heisman wants.
Well, it's a Heisman highlight play. That is for sure.
It's a Heisman moment.
They will show that on December whatever the day is when they do the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
But I would say Sayin has his opportunity in the big house if it's not snowing and blowing 35 miles an hour, because he's not as dramatic right now, but his numbers are incredible. 24 touchdowns, 4 picks, 80.9 completion percentage. He's almost 2,500 yards. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see.
And another 300-yard plus passing game by him.
6th, I believe, in the 9 tries.
Correct. And then on top of that, we all know that if things go according to Hoyle and based on the way things went last week, it does appear that Indiana is the team with the touch this year, much like it was last year. The touch meaning the way they beat Iowa several weeks ago, and then the way they pulled out the victory in Happy Valley. They left Happy Valley happy, the only ones that did.
Well, that's the other thing I would consider.
But here's what I'm saying is you got a collision course, as I call it, in the Suez Canal, featuring the possibility of 2 undefeated, ranked number 1 and number 2 in the nation football teams in Ohio State and Indiana. If the captains in the Stern House maintain the course, it could be one of the great showdowns in history, right up there with the game in 2006.
Whoa. Okay.
Well, no, that was 1 versus 2.
Yeah, it was.
In the shoe.
That's right.
Scooby-Doo.
That's right.
Whoop-de-woo.
Yeah.
And then after that, both teams lost their way from a mojo standpoint. Ohio State ends up getting beat by Florida.
Incredible
for the national championship.
Incredible Saturday.
But this could be, we talked about it last week. I keep bringing it up. What is that date? December the 6th?
Yeah. 29th is Michigan.
So. Yeah. So December the 6th, I think I've got it right. In Lucas Oil Stadium, it could be for the Big Ten championship and the Heisman Trophy.
That too.
Pretty impressive, as Larry David would say.
We might want to be there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyway, past that, Ohio State defense played extremely well, with the exception of one sort of drive where Purdue had something going, and then they decided to get fancy and ended up settling for a field goal. And, of course, at the end of the game, Purdue gets that drive for a touchdown. Ohio State had something going at the end of the first half, which talked to Jermaine Matthews about that. He's the guy that got the pick. Then they ran the ball to the end zone.
Yes, they did.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Running the ball. You'll hear me ask Ryan Day about that. Were you trying to make a point? He goes, well, not necessarily, but the point is, like I said a while ago, as Matt Wilhelm points out, they've still got 4 running backs who are rotating in. No doubt about it. Bo Jackson's a starter now. No doubt about it. Probably Isaiah West is right off the bench. And C.J. Donaldson's their power back when they need something. And James Peoples continues to show some improvement. That's what Ryan Day wanted to see. I'm telling you, 9 games into the year.
Is Matt okay with that? I'm curious.
Yeah, he's very much okay with that.
Use 4.
Dude, they want to play 16 games.
Yeah, that's true.
And
okay.
I mean, whatever. If somebody limps out, you got somebody in who's not going in, going, what play we running, coach? I mean, these guys have all played. For the most part, they've all lined up correctly. For the most part, they've all run to the right place correctly. And they all 4 are showing pretty good signs of pass pro, meaning picking up blitzes, things like that.
Which is what Travion and Quinshon did so dang well.
Yeah, absolutely. But these guys have come on like that under the Carlos Loughlin regime, stepping up, because you don't step into the lineup unless you step up on pass pro.
Very clearly.
That was
defined.
funny only to me, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm in that kind of mood today. It snowed. It feels really good. It feels like football weather, like I said.
Oh, it is.
It's going to be golf weather on Thursday when I'm really counting on that to happen. Hope the forecast doesn't change. But anything else you got on your mind there, man?
Well, there are some O-line concerns. You said you talked to Ian Moore post game.
Yeah,
he got a lot of reps, but I just don't think it's a huge issue. We're talking about, I think, one position at right guard, trying to correct some things that are happening there. And Tegris, I guess, still in the mix, but is Ryan?
Well, he was the mix on Saturday because Josh Padilla didn't even make the trip.
Right.
Because he was of the three guards that were banged up going through the week. I thought it looked like Luke Montgomery limped off the worst. You know what I mean? The previous week, but Josh Padilla didn't make the trip. They had Gabe Van Sickle. I think he played some, but then right tackle Ian Moore stepping in for Philip Daniels.
And Ethan played some right tackle too. Correct?
Yes, exactly. Ethan Onyeonwa. So,
but I don't think it rivals last season's. All of a sudden, Josh Simmons is out. Seth McLaughlin's out. We got to move. So hopefully Padilla will be back this week. Didn't Ryan say he's open? Yeah. He's going to be back. He didn't say definitively this week and stuff. But but the bottom line is they've got, once again, as Ian Moore talks about, the depth situation on the offensive line they think is really good. I thought the offensive line played well on Saturday. A few gaffes. That's going to happen. As the old saying goes, the other team practices too. The other team had variable fronts going on, blitzing on occasion, and even with a grizzled veteran group, sometimes it takes a while to adjust to what the other team is doing, no matter who that other team is. But then again, of course, Jermaine Matthews steps up, makes a play, man. And what's great about that is he's great to talk to after he makes a play. I don't see the need for him to say, I think we can, I don't want it to be the Terry Glenn of 1995. Just do your job. That's your opinion. You can, I'm not saying he's running his mouth. He's confident. Just wait till. Ian Moore's confident. That was his first start. As he said, the most he's played since high school. And in a game, cool for him. And he felt really good about the Ohio State coming off the field too. After that, Julian Sayin felt really good about the backups at wide receiver with Carnell Tate there, but only going to be used in a pinch. That's another thing. And as I point out, Jeremiah Smith, instead of catching 5 balls, caught 10, a career high 10 balls. Right. Nice to see Bryson Rogers getting some work. Yep. And guy we talked about in preseason, Marlon Graham. Right on down the line, they've got guys. They're deep. And with one exception, Julian Sayin was able to find those guys, spread the ball around. Max Clare is homecoming at Purdue, where he was last year. I meant to include that sound, but I messed up the sound a little bit. But just about how funny it was to be playing back at Ross-Ade. But it looked like at least more. I'm stammering. I thought more than half the stadium was Ohio State fans. I think you're exactly right. And I asked him about that, but my sound messed up on my little GoPro, though. I'll get that straightened out eventually one of these days when the season's over and I don't need it anymore. But his brother's on the other team, which is another great little twist to the whole afternoon. Didn't seem to bother Max. He didn't seem to be singing Auld Lang Syne or anything about being there. He seemed extremely happy to be on the number 1 team in the country. And let's hear from these. Let's hear from these guys. Clay suddenly is taking over the directorship of the show. Who's up first? Which is okay. We're going to hear from Jermaine Matthews first. Let's see what he had to say post game.
Every day, just getting better. Every day, don't take no opponents for granted. Just anything can happen on any given Sunday. So just coming here with the right mindset and just ready to dominate.
After they moved the ball some early, then you guys really tightened down. What got different? What'd you change?
It's just the flow of the game. Like, things happen. They're going to make a couple plays. Like, they Power 5 football team just like us. So they're going to make a couple plays here and there. So it's just about making the right adjustments and just getting our group, playing our game.
Do you feel like you just have a knack for making plays on the ball?
I think it's just something I do. Just try to make plays, make as much plays as possible, and just try to get the ball back for the offense.
Jermaine, did you feel the game really tilt from that moment on, though, from that interception?
Yeah, I feel like Yeah, I feel like they kind of was like trying to like shutting down a little bit.
Yeah.
But they fought to the end, though. They fought to the end. They got another touchdown at the end, so.
Is it a bit of a bummer they got a touchdown at the end, or how would you describe it?
Yeah, I'm upset they got that touchdown. I'm upset, but it's all good. It's all good.
You guys have now won 8 games in a row by 3 scores or more. Just what do you think it is about you guys that are allowing you to be that consistent week in, week out?
I think it's the pressure, not the pressure, but like just the messages Coach Day is giving us every week. Just staying consistent, just playing our Buckeye football. I really think nobody in the country can really hang with us, in my opinion. So I think we just go out there every Saturday and play our game. We won't have too much to worry about.
Couple of references there. Any given Sunday.
Yeah, he's already playing.
He's already playing on Sunday. Ball running down the line, and then like Ryan Day's got them going. I mean, they're really believing one game at a time, brother. Take care of your business. It's all in the process. Method. It was a methodical win when you think about it. When you consider the drive, the touchdown, the Jermaine Matthews pick, followed by a all-run drive to the touchdown. Then they get a 3-and-out and get the ball back and quickly drive down and get a field goal to end first half. Right. Then they've got a great drive going to start the second half until the pick. And, with the exception of the pick, which you can't accept or accept, the bottom line is, man, the middle 8 minutes of the game they owned. It's pretty funny. Let's listen to Julian saying, I didn't get sound from him talking about, like I said, my sound kind of came and went. I don't know what was going on there, but just about the pick, but just about, just sort of post game, a quarterback's view on things. This from the, I still believe is going to be, or still is the favorite now to win the Heisman Trophy. But Julian Sayin,
a lot of the young guys stepped up and did a really good job. Jeremiah was getting doubled after the first couple of drives. They started to double team him. So I think a lot of the young guys did a great job. Come to think like the Bryson Rogers dig route on third down when it was man coverage. They were doubling Jeremiah. So I think just seeing those guys step up, it was awesome to see today. And, we focus on that in practice. It shows.
Jeremiah had a career high today in catches. What can you say you haven't said about Jeremiah, Julian?
He's a really hard-working player, and he shows up on Saturdays because he puts in the work on Tuesday and Wednesday. And he's a really smart player. And he knows what he's doing, where he's going, and rarely makes mental mistakes and rarely makes physical mistakes.
Third straight game for you with 300+ yards. How do you see yourself maturing from Saturday out there?
Yeah, I think just getting better each and every week and growing. There's still a lot to grow from. I'll grow from some things today, but just keep getting better, keep growing, and keep upgrading to the next version.
The bottom line is, man, what's not to like? What's not to like about Julian Sayin? I'm asking you.
No, I can't come up. I mean,
with the exception of one pick. And believe me, everybody makes mistakes.
Well, yeah, I mean, people he's looking right at all right. He.
You know what? People are going to nitpick on that one pick. That's what bothers you.
You're right. Well, yeah, but again,
he had a better day than Fernando Mendoza did.
19 to 30, 218, 1 TD, 1 interception. Again.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, the stat freak playoff.
Well,
I'm with you, brother.
I'm trying to. Yeah. Anyway,
you're yin my yang.
But come on now. Ohio State, Penn State, 24-point difference.
Come on now.
This game, 27-24, Indiana survives. First win ever in Happy Valley.
Yep.
Signetti is Signetti, man. He's going to sig.
Oh, yeah.
You caught, I don't know. You were
zigzag. That's what I call it. He does the zigzag.
You were working. You were staffing on Saturday. But when he said to Jenny Taft, this team has never played here. I mean, she was like, well, Penn State you've never won. Indiana's never won here. And he shot back, baby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, there is a new sheriff in town.
Oh, my.
Without a doubt, Indiana is for real. I've been saying it. I'm just saying. I've been saying it. But when it comes to the Heisman, I'm just saying.
Well, I'm with you. Hopefully, Ohio State clears all the hurdles and sets up the beauty of that game in Lucas Oil. And think about that crowd differential. That's going to be 50-50, I'm guessing.
But who's going to have a lot of people there if they get there? It's going to be Ian Moore, an Indiana native. Let's hear from him getting his first start at right tackle for Ohio State. As he said, the most he's played since high school. But let's get in a little bit of his sound.
I know it wasn't perfect, but what does that say about you guys as an offensive line unit that you can kind of patch it together without a couple of the starters and still be able to do what you guys do?
I think Coach Bowen says it almost every day. I think we got the best offensive line in the country. I think we got the best offensive line depth in the country. I mean, you got 5 dudes that have played. I mean, you got Ethan, he played at Rice. I mean, I think we got the best depth and the best offensive line in the country. So I think it's almost not easy, but like it's natural. I mean, Coach Bowen plugs us in every now and then. So I mean, it's more natural, you know.
After the Jermaine pick, and you guys basically ran the ball to the end zone, what did that mean to the whole group and just to the offense?
I mean, it's just like it's just big man football, man. It's Big Ten football. You know, it runs through an offensive line, it runs through a defensive line. I mean, Big Ten, I don't know how it is. I don't watch much SEC ball, but Big Ten, it starts up front and it ends up front. So I think that just like kind of, you know, we just kind of asserted it.
Ian, what was it like going back out there every series, every play, just first time you've had to do that for an entire game? Just what'd you feel about that challenge, I guess?
I mean, it was tiring. I don't think I played that much football since high school, but I mean, it was. I mean, Coach Mick trains us really well. He conditions us very well. So I think, you know, after we just settled in that first drive, so I think after that it got easier.
I like the word assertion.
Yeah,
asserted ourselves.
I like, you know, and what he said about big man football.
Well,
like you say, he's never doesn't watch much SEC. He hadn't played in the SEC, but. You know, the point is, it is big man football in the Big Ten in November.
That's line of scrimmage football.
Yeah.
These 2 leagues, I think, unlike the others, that's what it is, man.
Yeah. Let's get some sound from Caden McDonald, who also, once again, had a really good game at nose tackle, defensive tackle. You know, they kind of move it around. He's not necessarily lined up, cocked on the center like a classic nose tackle would be. From play to play, but he does play in that A gap and a lot. And just his take, just on another stout game from him. There was a point in the first quarter where he limped off, but came back in or went left kind of slowly instead of limping. But like he talks about it, man, it's November. Let's see what he had to say.
Against those running backs, kind of all 4 of them that are back in there. How fun were they to stop?
Something Coach always says, iron sharpens iron, and you know, all those guys, Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, C.J. Donaldson, James People, they play really hard and practice really hard, and it shows.
Caden, you're playing great football right now. What's kind of your mindset throughout the week when you're prepping? You get to Saturday and you just get out here and dominate.
Just, you know, get better every game. My best football is yet to come, and just keep working.
We saw guys like Devin Sanchez, probably Pettijohn get in early, like different guys rotate in on defense. Just for them, how important do you think it is that they get experience on the road, Big Ten play, just early on in their careers?
It's really good just to get the, you know, make them mature faster, and because we got some big games coming up, and we're going to need those guys to step up for us.
There was a stretch of this game from the first quarter to, I believe, the last touchdown the offense scored where you guys had a 61-17 edge in offensive plays, like plays in your offense ran through the Bears. What was the key to getting quick stops today?
Really just to put our offense in the best situation to go score and get off the field.
Hey, do you have a pair of glasses for every occasion?
Oh, these is, you know, I don't know. I just like these, you know, a little stylish, but, you know, just glad to get the win. That really matters.
You got kind of banged up a little bit early. It looked like you came out but got back in there and stuff. I mean, is that just the price of playing football in Big Ten in November?
Yeah, for sure. You know, everything they're gonna remember the November. So, you know, each game in November matters, and just building up to that last game of the season and on a playoff run.
I think we should add here, Purdue's situation, post-game situation, is so cramped. I mean, and the steam coming out of the damn shower, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, we're outside right there. It's really funny.
You have to go outside, and that's why you get the motorcycles and the band and the parents and
the diesel engines warming up.
Oh my God!
And some kind of air pressure release somewhere in some of those.
This is not.
You know,
this is not.
It has always been.
It's not a studio.
There have been worse. There have been worse post-game interview situations.
Ryan Field, Northwestern.
Yeah, I'm talking about in the past. You know, Michigan State, that first year in 1984, we're in a boiler room, and the boiler kicks on in the middle of Earl Bruce talking about that ridiculous victory up there on their way to the Rose Bowl that season. But yeah, they've been used to, but Purdue has never been good. I remember it was right from under the stands. I was kind of reliving that a little bit because the old underneath the stands, even though they've added to the stadium, including there's a big overhang now and cover because they put end zone stands in that south end zone. But the setup is still the same. It's still pretty much the same hut there where the visitors locker room is. Yeah. At least we interview Coach Day and just Coach Day in a room all the way across the other side of the stadium on the southeast corner instead of the southwest corner. But then you go back to talk to the post game to the players. I didn't get there in time. Jeremiah Smith came out at the first, and I didn't get there in time to talk to him, but we'll get him this week sometime. But the point is, it's always when we had to do it in that room and it got so steamy.
Oh, it was just.
I mean, for you TV guys,
it was just take a towel.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole time
you could hear people talking in the locker room. You know, it was just it was awful. It was awful. No other way to describe it. Now they had to anyway.
Yeah, but most have upgraded, like Michigan State. Much
Michigan State is maybe the best post game on the road in the country. Their whole situation, and everybody's upgraded their stadiums and done it. Even Penn State's a little bit better, but we still now you get the players outside, so you get all this extraneous noise going. Yeah. But it used to be in that little bitty room right off their locker room, which their visitor locker room stunk in all kinds of ways, maybe even in, it was just, that's okay. I mean, the pink locker room at Iowa still exists right on down the line. But anyway, it's still cool to talk to Caden McDonald and the big guys. And
best football is ahead of him, he said.
Yeah, well.
Much more to come.
And he threw in that cliche, the games they remember. What he meant was the games they remember are the ones in November. He's right. I mean, this is the stretch run for everybody. Have you got the stamina? Yeah. Have you got the strength to make the stretch run? Of course, by the end of November, we already knew who the Big Ten champion was back in the day. Now you got to play that extra game in Lucas Oil Stadium. Who knows if that's going to go the way of the dinosaurs in the next several years? We'll find out, right? But anyway, let's here's on the side with Ryan Day. I was standing there with Nicole Sheeran from Channel 10 after the interviews with the players, because I wanted to ask Coach Day about that little swing there with Jermaine Matthews' interception, followed by the drive to the touchdown, all runs. But she also she asks him about his son RJ Day, who had a night. I mean, a record for DeSales, 400 and
almost 500,
almost 500 yards passing, including the game-winning touchdown against Ashland in the OHSAA playoffs. And as Ryan talks about it, but he wasn't, of course, there. You can watch it on stream, but he wasn't able to watch all the game on the stream. But it's still pretty cool because that's his kid, man. Imagine.
Well, and everybody's asking, what are you going to offer?
Yeah, I know. I keep doing that too, just to mess with him.
Yeah,
because wow.
And he initially said to me, well, let's see if he gets some more offers.
Yeah, and he basically said Nina's in charge. His mom's in charge of all those kind of questions. Yeah, but
it's a funny spot for him.
Yeah, so. But my goodness, imagine no matter who the quarterback is, the father of a quarterback having a night like RJ did. You're busting. No matter how you put it. But let's just see. The pride. Let's just see what he had to say, and then follows up with that little question I had for him.
480 yards, and that was actually, I think, maybe his fourth or fifth 2-minute come from behind win. And to do that, I think there was no timeouts left, under 2 minutes to go on his own 10-yard line. But I was in the hotel with some of the coaches and some of the players watching the game, so I couldn't be there, but I was with them. And then I got a chance to see him here, and so it's good. I'm proud of him. It's a lot of work in, and as a dad, that's all that matters.
Last one for you, Coach. 3 more regular season games left on the schedule, then it's the playoffs. What are you looking for out of these last 3 games?
Just more consistency, so we'll get back tomorrow and have another great week of work and on to UCLA. And if we can continue to build on the foundation that we have, and the games are going to take care of themselves.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Ryan, Jermaine Matthews pick, just one question. Jermaine Matthews pick, and then the way y'all drove the ball.
running. Did you tell Brian, let's put the ball on the ground and drive? And what was up there? Because it really took the toll.
We tried to, going into the game, we wanted to, really establish the run in this game and give some of these guys an opportunity. And so we just went from there.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. But the point is, like I said, don't mistake Purdue for even Penn State's defense,
right?
Or Georgia's defense or whatever. Although, like I said, the SEC, they need the good thing is SEC because it's not the SDC, that's for sure this year. Agreed? No, I don't think there's except with the exception of Texas. And I'm even sure Texas hadn't backslid a little bit defensively, but with the exception of Texas, I don't think there's an outstanding great defense in the SEC. But
not like the old days.
Right. But the fact is, you turn to the run game in that one instance, and boom, they took it to the end zone. You heard Ian Moore had to say about that, and capped it with Lincoln Keno's obviously going in there on that quote wildcat. I don't know, call it a wildcat when you've got another quarterback in there, still a quarterback running the show, and he got his first touchdown. So that was cool. But they've already shown several different things they can do down at the goal line, and put those on film defenses coming up. What are they going to do next? I mean, you saw the Julian Sayin roll out, throw to Bennett Christian the week before out of a power set. So it's going to be interesting as the season rolls into the final clutches here. I couldn't get my brain wrapped around that sentence I was trying to get to there. But the bottom line is, the stretch run.
Yeah.
But Ohio State's running game is coming on. And one of the reasons, and I was saying this 10 weeks ago, saying on radio and TV when I'm asked about it, you got to keep working on the running game because you're going to need it. Sometime you're going to need it. And to say, we just can't run like we used to, throw the ball every down.
No.
You can't do that in college football. You can't do it at any level of football, but definitely college football.
Well, what if you got this kind of day in Ann Arbor? I'm just telling you.
Well, unless the wind's blowing
that's
hard.
What it always seems to be.
Yeah.
Like bad weather, slate gray sky, as Musburger used to say.
Yeah.
But you've got those elements to deal with, and you got to deal with them.
Yeah.
And so
it can also be 50 and sunny up there on game day.
Very seldom.
Yeah. It was nice up there 2 years ago, their last trip up there. But anyway, I digress. Any other thoughts real quick before we move to our Mondays with Matt?
No, Jaden Fielding, happy for him. 45-yarder, 49-yarder, starting to kind of, lengthen his dependability. And that's huge. They might need it on the 29th. You don't know. But I think he's earned some trust and confidence with his head coach by doing just that.
Yeah, that field goal just for the half. That was like I say in bullfighting, that was a coup de grace.
What was it, 24 point?
Whatever it made it. They scored 10 points in the last 2.5 minutes of the game, of the half. And that was huge because they moved to that field goal, came on and kicked it, and that's that. So anyway, Matt Wilhelm and I talk about a lot of things about that game. We also talk about his son Mason becoming now a celebrated commitment to the Ohio State class of 2026.
That's cool.
Obviously decommitted from North Carolina and Bill Belichick before he did this, but
but they were always hoping, right? The family.
I don't know if hoping is the right word. Hoping probably is the right word that they would earn an invitation from Ohio State to be part of the 2026 class. And they finally got it. And like Matt said, they wanted nothing just handed to you. And Mason just has come on this season as a two-way performer for Lakewood St. Edge, which happens to have pretty stout football program.
Yeah.
And they play against the big boys basically week in and week out, not some Division IV team playing another Division IV out-man team. I mean, it's pretty interesting. So he's proven himself. But, we first start off, though, talking about Ohio State and things, and then we move into – I think it's really cool to get a view from behind the scenes of recruiting, which is what Matt offers in this thing. In the end of this, I invite people to stay tuned and listen to it. But without further ado, let's get to our regularly scheduled Mondays with Matt Wilhelm. Welcome to the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall again, my man.
Great to be with you as always after another Buckeye victory.
Hey, we're going to get into some personal business with you and your son, Mason, who made headlines a week ago, committing to the Buckeyes, just the path he took to finally get that big offer, but he still pondered it, still wanted to be recruited, right? Who doesn't want to be recruited? And by that, I mean, definitely feel like you're wanted. We'll get into that in a minute. But I want to ask you this. Did Ohio State on Saturday with the win, with the methodical victory, as I called it, over Purdue, the only thing that messed up that methodical victory was the drive to start the second half and then get down there and throw a pick. Julian Sayin throws a rare pick, a rare pass that looked like it was, for one of another term, all his fault,
Yeah.
But who knows, right? But the bottom line is, other than that, he had another ridiculous game. Jeremiah Smith picked up the slack. Carnell Tate was missing. So Jeremiah Smith sets a career-high 10 catches. So you figure 5 and 5, him and Carnell, he took up the slack there. But Ohio State just methodically put Purdue away in a much finer fashion than the team up north, a.k.a. Michigan, did the week before. I'm just wondering, what was your take on that game? To me, it looked like just a number one team in the country taking care of business on the road in a place that's always been weird to play for Ohio State.
Absolutely. I think the one thing, not only the first drive of the second half with the very rare Julian Sayin interception, but I think what also kind of changed both the immediate start and then the way you look back at this game to be hypercritical, the way that we are as fans and as alumni, as well as what the coaches are going to do is the ticky-tacky block on the back on Jeremiah Smith to open the game on the run by Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
And I think, statistically, Bo Jackson, 5.4 rush, Isaiah West, 6.7 a rush, and you got those two true freshmen now who've kind of really taken the lead in that room. And we dabble with CJ Donaldson, kind of like inside the 10-yard line. We dabble with James Peoples, here and there when there's a carry to kind of keep him in the mix.
Yep.
And again, that's long-term planning by Ryan Day and Brian Hartline and Tyler Bowen and, Carlos Loughlin as well. But how different you would look at this for Ohio, as a staff, as a offensive line, as a running back room, and for us as fans who are highly critical, of a lot of things. But like, you finally popped the run that you and I have been talking about almost every single Monday for 4 or 5 weeks now.
Homework.
And it gets called back. I do think that it was a ticky-tacky kind of BS block in the back, once you see the replay.
Yeah.
But then again, it was a penalty, and you kind of go about things the way you go about things. And I think the one thing that I'll continue to say about this football team and the way that it's working out right now, to your point about going to a place that's kind of finicky and funky to play, especially at this juncture, you never know what weather you're going to get at this time of year either, which is something you have to manage, is you still walk away with things that need to get fixed. And I think that's, there's some teams in some years where maybe, Bama teams of years past or Ohio State teams of years past where it's just kind of like, with Stroud, they're just rolling. You've got the wide receivers rolling. You got the run game rolling. The protection's fantastic. The defense probably not playing at the level that this defense is playing at the time, but still playing at a silver bullet Buckeye level. You walk away from this game and you can point out, 6 to 12 plays, that just aren't good enough to win a national championship. And I think that's, what Ryan Day and these coaches, as well as these players, have to critically look at each and every week. And it allows you to just not rest on your laurels of just being able to roll your helmet out as the more talented, better coached number one team in the country and think that everybody's just going to lay down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, there's something about this workman's mentality for this football team that really, again, we sometimes make it look very easy. And with Jeremiah and Julian Sayin playing the way he's playing, and Carnell Tate when he's out there and healthy, the offense just rolls, and you've got this glimmer in your eye when you talk about this offense, and then you talk about the defense. Unfortunately, the late touchdown kind of stymies, what you thought was just another dominant performance. Again, still 24-point win, but there's work to be done. And I think that's, these coaches aren't paid just to go out and win football games and make it look easy, and I know that's the fan base would love to just, mid third quarter, having a couple extra cocktails. But this team has a workman's mentality that I already talked about. And I think that's also that work gets carried over now into the week to fix some of those issues and then also prepare for UCLA coming up at night.
Yeah. All kinds of things. I want to, this is always, I didn't play football, definitely didn't play football at the highest level. Played football, just didn't play it, for a school team. Let me put it that away. My brothers always put me at quarterback so I wouldn't get hit that much. We had great inter-neighborhood games, etc. But what I'm getting to here is this: we didn't have practice sessions, to fix something. Every play was drawn up in the dirt or in the grass, so to speak, from play to play. What I want to touch on is what you just talked about. When you talk about things to fix, things you could get better at, how much time does a football team spend on a mistake by a person as opposed to, well, that didn't really work the way we thought it would? You know what I mean? I mean, from a concept standpoint, but we would still want to have it in our repertoire. How much time this late in the season do you work on things that sort of aren't working? You understand what I mean? And you throw them away as opposed to, we know this is going to work. You know what I mean? You only have so many hours in a week, even if everybody's dedicated to the game. I mean, you're helping coach Lakewood St. Ed's, how much, that's what I'm saying. How much time do you work? Do you work on a mistake? Sometimes it's just an individual mistake by one player that costs you a play or something. I mean, explain that to people.
That's a great question. So the individual who makes the mistake is of course it's addressed. Well, first of all, you as a player are very well aware of the mistake. Okay. And that weighs on you, or multiple mistakes. That means the plane ride home, the bus ride back to the Woody, in your car, when you go back and sit down in front of an iPad or your computer and you watch it yourself, you then get to see the mistake and you're like, shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to fix that. And then also, you're going to hear about it. You're going to hear about it from your coaches. And that could be Day, Hartline, Bowen, whomever, Devin Jordan, Carlos Loughlin about a read or a block or this, because you're always chasing, as a coach and especially as a player, you're chasing that winning performance. You're chasing that high, 90+% grade. You're chasing perfection, although it's essentially unattainable as it relates to the football field, because it's just the way that the game works. And I think that's what's very intriguing about it is, but then you nip it in the butt very early. It's addressed. It's, the dark cloud kind of like, strays after it's addressed by the coaches. You taking accountability for it and going, yeah, it's my bad. I this, I that. And then you take the coaching or the criticism that comes. And then I think what's great about Ohio State with the coaches that they have, they're going to go out early in the week. You're going to be out to practice kind of early and working on whatever that thing is that needs to get fixed. And then it's dropped at that point. And then it just blurs right back into, your typical O-line receiver, DB, technique and the drills and skills that you perform each and every week. So, but to your point conceptually is, there are definitely some things from a coaching standpoint and playing standpoint where you're expecting a certain look, whether it's a certain front or a certain blitz or a certain coverage, or you're reacting to a specific formation based on tendency, even on defense, and you don't get it. And that in some cases is again, by process of elimination, you have, whittled down through film study how you want to go attack this team. And that team is allowed to do something different than what you expect too. And that's the chess match that we tune into each and every, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, regardless of what level of sport you're watching. And so that's what you kind of keep in the back of your hand. And then I think at this point for Ohio State, and I think in the run game, we know who we are. We just haven't gone out and done it probably to the level that anybody within the program thinks we're capable of. And so what does that mean? Are we a zone scheme or is a gap scheme type of team? And you can be both. And you're probably going to be better at one than the other. And that's determined by a few things. Who along the offensive line, where are their strengths? Are they, Maulers, road graders? Probably going to be a gap scheme team, right?
Yeah.
Are they going to be more zone scheme? And then also you think you have to play to the strengths of your backs. And that's where I think, maybe in some cases, and it is such a gift to be so talented and have the backs playing that are playing. And I think in the Purdue game, to see, Ian Moore and Gabe Van Sickle, and there was just some new names and new faces, out there getting reps that have, been in a Buckeye uniform now for, 24 months and have earned that opportunity because of some injuries and rotational stuff to just get it on film. And again, to like our point, just fix it. And so there are absolutely some things, and I know this from a high school level, where you're like, you might have run this week 3, week 4, and you either liked it or didn't like it, but then you run into that team later in the another team later in the season who has a similar look or a similar concept, that, and you go, remember week 3, week 4 when we ran this? Let's pull that back, pull it back out, practice it this week and see if it's going to be, we can take it, into this game against, said opponent, who gives you a very similar look. So nothing is really scrapped. The archive, I'm sure, of Matt Patricia and Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline's is probably developing, along with Tyler Bowen and Ryan Day from an offense standpoint. But Matt Patricia's probably got, binders and notebooks, stacked to the roof with concepts that he can go, dig through if he needs be for any set opponent. So, like I said, all in all, there's things that need to, continue to get better, continue to improve. And I think that's what's great about this Ohio State football team, while winning in the fashion that we do, while being undefeated, while being the number 1 team in the country. I also love Ryan Day's statements about the college football playoff ranking. It's for the fans, it's for writers, and you and I on a vlog
Podcasters
to talk about, but it's not talked about internally, because if you go take care of your business, you should stay where you're at.
Yeah. What makes a good, in your mind, having played linebacker, what makes a good zone scheme running back? Is it, and I'm wondering, is that tougher to develop, you think, as a running back than a gap scheme? What's your take on that? I mean,
it is. So a good zone scheme runner has the speed. Well, first of all, vision is key in the zone scheme, because you don't know where the hole's going to be.
What door's going to open?
Yeah. I think a couple of things is A, vision, number 1. B, you have to have the speed that if you block the zone scheme properly and say it's stretched, that you can take it around the edge, and hit the corner, put your cleat in the ground and get vertical down the sideline. Same can be said is when you show that capability and you're on that zone track towards the edge, but that inside gap, they overflow and backside cuts off and it's like the parting of the sea. Can you get your cleats in the ground and get vertical now at that point, and hit that run? And again, there's going to be bad angles defensively, and a good running back's going to make at least the first guy miss. And I think that's maybe, and I'm not trying to say good running backs. We have amazing running backs. And I think that's in some cases, we're seeing it show up incrementally in a football game, that our running backs make the first guy miss. And that's either a shake, speed, or we run through an arm tackle, or we just lower our shoulder and get that extra 2 yards.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that's missed, and we finally saw it on the Bo Jackson run initially, was we either run away from someone, make one guy miss, and then we just run away from the defense. And that hasn't, and it might be that second guy, running away from that second guy that's getting us down right now. And I think that's the biggest difference. But it's, you look, like I said, you look at this completely different. If you had a 70-yard run, that's one run for 70 yards on what, on the rushing total goes to, 240 yards, and maybe a little bit less passing yards on that first drive. And you're averaging 8.2 yards a carry, not 6.2 yards a carry. Things look a little bit different. And I think it's also you, as I talked about, you and I talk about it each every week, and the fan base wants it, is like, we just need to pop a run. And when we pop a run and you have Max Clare and you have Carnell Tate and you have Brandon Ennis and you have Jeremiah Smith and you have Julian Sayin, it's like, pick your poison offensively. And I think that's when this Ohio State team, which has not really done it yet, will be their best.
Yeah, we'll really roll. I thought it was impressive. I asked Ryan after the game, and he basically indicated this wasn't necessarily the case. But boy, after the Jermaine Matthews interception, they ran the ball to a touchdown, with Lincoln keynotes. finally coming in as a wildcat, a wild quarterback, wild quarter cat, kitty cat, quarter cat, and getting. But my point is, they ran the ball, and to me, it looked like a statement. Whether or not they want to admit it was a statement, it was a statement of running the ball to a touchdown, as opposed to throwing to your big boys, out of the back. Jeremiah and Brandon Ennis, et cetera. That has to do something for a football team, doesn't it? I mean, all they've been hearing, I don't care who you're playing, when you line up and just run the ball to a touchdown, it kind of cuts the heart out of the other team, right? A little bit.
It absolutely does, and I think it's the Keenholz package, down inside the goal line. I'm sure there's 3 to 6 plays that are part of it, and when you can soften someone up with a QB run. Of course, when you run the QB, and we learned this through the Urban Meyer era with JT Barrett, there's an extra gap to defend. We've seen, in weeks past, the corner route by the tight end for a touchdown, the levels route that's very popular down on the goal line.
Yep.
Sprint right option. So there's dash pass. You can we can throw the back shoulder fade whenever we want to Jeremiah Smith to go up and get the football, right?
Yep.
But you're right. The mentality to say, we're going to bring in our heavy package and we're going to run the football and you can't stop us. That's the evolution that fans and writers have wanted to see out of this football team. And I think, it's been CJ Donaldson in a cloud of dust down there, 2-3 times to potentially get it in.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, to any competitor and those gentlemen along the offensive line, it's a challenge to you. Can you move said person backwards and allow that runner to pick that head of steam up out of the pistol or offset back for inside zone or duo and, bury his head into your back and cross the goal line and enforce your will upon them.
Yeah. It's that fine line you run, though, as a coach. I mean, in my opinion, coach is that's what you ultimately want to get to, except you don't ever want to be, in today's age, I mean, almost everybody has some guys they can put in there and just gang up on a gap, and just say, I mean, we saw that against Washington. Ohio State got down there and then ran literally the same play, the same gap, wide gap to CJ Donaldson. He got stuffed at the 1 yard line, 1 foot line. So anybody can gang up on you, but then like you're talking about, to present a defense the option of, for example, Lincoln Keynotes is in there. Hey, he can throw the ball. And you've got video showing he can throw the ball. You just take that one just little bitty edge off of a defense. It makes a huge difference, right? Because you played defense.
Yeah,
a little bit of doubt.
You create, when you study Ohio State and you say Lincoln Keynotes comes inside the 3 yard line and they've run QB run.
Yeah.
Okay. And we very well might. Can you stop it? Because Purdue couldn't. So you run that again, maybe till you stop it. But then there's also, there's layers to that package when you have a quarterback doing it, because it's not a true wildcat. That's not Donaldson at quarterback with Keenholz lined up, as an X receiver, just kind of like pulling a defender out of the box, which sometimes, a defense won't even honor because they know he's just standing out there kind of as a quote unquote mannequin or a dummy.
Yeah.
So there's layers to this. And I think that's the great part about being able to do that, on the road against a formidable opponent who's, rebuilding to a certain extent and go get that win. I think it's just an opportunity to get that on tape, to see what that package looks like. And I think you also, as I said, you're going to build layers to Keenholz, being in a queue, again, he can throw the back shoulder fade to Jeremiah. Shoot, you could throw the back shoulder fade to Jeremiah to a high percentage, right? Just punt it out there. Dash pass, jet motion, power, zone read down there, all the layers of having a quarterback, handle the football because that's his job. He does it every play. And then, put you in a situation. And I think also, frankly, I love the layer to it where you protect Julian Sayin. You don't push a square peg into a round hole with Julian Sayin, who's a thrower, to go in there and physically run the football in. You bring in your, 6'3", 225-pound quarterback who can also play and almost won this job as a quarterback, but now run it. It's just another layer, another facet, for Ryan Day and Brian Hartline offensively.
Yeah, and real quick, as a defender, like I said, you played defense at the highest levels in college and pros. Are you more susceptible to get sucked in if I come out there with like Ohio State's favorite thing, 4 tight ends, 1 at fullback, they won't call him a fullback, but Nate Rard basically in the I formation. And, we saw against Penn State where they lined up that little tight bunch of tight ends to the right side and play action and Julian roll to the right, bingo, bango, bongo, Bennett Christian touchdown.
Yep.
Are you as a defender, are you more keen? Because they showed action there of running back inside with Max Clare going inside. We talked about this last week. Max Clare going inside, then all of a sudden he reverse came out and he got a block just by happenstance on the play.
Yep. Yep.
But my point is, are you as a defense more susceptible to that play biting you on first down as opposed to second or third down? If you follow my drift, if you stuff somebody on first down on a run, but they come back in the same formation and then try to snooker you, are you more easily snookered on the first down than you are the second down? I don't know if
you're absolutely more susceptible to be snookered on first down.
Why wouldn't you go ahead and why wouldn't you do that then as an offense every time? I know you want to be unpredictable, but sometimes you only got 1 or 2 shots at it, to be
but I also think there, and again, I'm not going to say this is the mindset, but there's some ego or attachment to wanting to impose your will.
Yes.
On when we're inside the 5-yard line, we're going to run the football because we want to run the football into the end zone.
Yeah.
And that's just as an offense, as an offensive line, as a running back, as a play caller, you want to get down there and go, we can do this. So we're going to we're going to get you guys out there in the formation, and we're going to, what we practiced all week and what we feel is, the look that we can block best, and we're going to go run the football in. And then if we can't, then you pivot appropriately. And in some cases, I just think that when I think of Ohio State football, that's what I think of first. Ball inside 3-4 yard line, you're gonna run the football on first down, force that defense to stop you.
Yeah.
And then you pivot appropriately, again, into layers, you change formation. And that's the gift that we have is, say you don't get it with Keen Holtz, you bring Julian Sayin back in, you can go 5 wide. You can then stay heavy with him in the game. You know what I mean? You can boot and waggle. You can run it again and hand it off.
Waggle action.
It just, and I'm not trying to say that by any means we're toying with people, but I think that we are using our assets very well as an offense.
Gotcha.
To where, although you're going to have to stop Jeremiah, and my man went for 10 receptions, the most he's ever had in a Buckeye uniform, and he was doubled most of the day.
Yeah.
So, and also I think, I love seeing, the Rodgers kid get some receptions and just building this depth for a 16-game football season, and having new faces and new names and new bodies prove their hard work on the practice field, and being attentive to what the coaches, are technically coaching them to do, is being rewarded with an opportunity in a real game.
Yeah. Hey, last question. I don't want to ask you about a guy named Mason Wilhelm.
Never heard of him.
So what is the focus now for Ohio State? Prohibitive favorite against UCLA this week. Will be against Rutgers the next week. We know what's coming at the end of do you have a sense of this football team now that it's going to keep its focus? I thought it did at Purdue. Like you said, a block in the back, a ticky-tack foul, block in the back. But, hey, if you make it look that way, you're going to get the flag, right?
Yeah.
Ticky-tack block in the back, or else they probably demolish Purdue. But my point is that the focus seemed to be there, especially on the defensive side of the ball. What is the key these next 3 weeks or these next 2 weeks for this football team now? Have they shown you enough to show that they're all about the business?
They absolutely have. They really have. And again, I keep saying it, it's redundant. I just love that they play very, very well, but not so good that they can sit back, with a tea in their hand and read their press clippings.
We've made it.
That there's always some work, right?
Yeah.
Defensively, it's this and that, while also, cumulatively building toward what's ahead. We all know what that is. That's that team up north. That's a potential multiple SEC opponents on a college football playoff run to another national title, right?
Yep.
So you're always building for the short term while keeping some vision on the long term of what's ahead of you. And I think that's what I take from this, is that there's it's a workman's mentality. That it's not always shiny and squeaky. Some people might think that the number one team in the country might look like. I think, and I know that, Indiana pulled one out late, but it goes back to what I said last week. Indiana has a way of beating you as a football team, 52-7, 52-14, 63 to 10, whatever it might be. And everybody's like blown away by a 40-plus point discrepancy in all these games by Indiana. And believe me, it's impressive.
Oh, yeah.
I think the mastery of managing this situation by Ryan Day, coming off of a national championship, understanding all season long the number of new contributors, new starters, guys playing a significant amount of football for the first time is immense because of the number of guys that we sent into the National Football League. I think managing the backfield the way that he has, by getting literally 4 guys, touch the football multiple times. And
yes,
I want to go back. 4 guys or more touch the ball on the ground in almost every single football game this season, minus maybe the first couple of games of the year, right?
Yeah.
Once it kind of all figured itself out. So that, and I think just Sayin continuing to play at the extremely high level that he's played and distribute the ball the way that he can, he doesn't have to just throw it to Jeremiah every time. And I think that Brian Hartline has just continued to get into his bag to scheme guys open, and also just call a great game that allows Julian Sayin to just be a quarterback, especially as a redshirt freshman. So many times, it's Coach Day or whomever the offensive coordinator goes, it's and or. Throw it here or throw it there. If the corner's rolled up, throw it here. If the corner sinks, throw it there. And you're very rudimentary, like a first-time starter at the high school level. It's very and or, very elementary from a quarterback play. So you just don't screw this up. And that might have been the approach to the Texas game, which we survived. But what he's done since then, and you can see it, and they talk about it on every broadcast that he's on. Look at his eyes. Look at his feet. He goes from read 1 to read 2 to read 3, and then he comes back to the check down. He's scram. And again, I think that's why we are all so I don't say appalled, but by the interception in the red zone. You're like, that is the most un-Julian Sayin thing we have seen all year because he's been so good with the ball most of the season.
Yeah. I real quick, because I want to talk about Mason, but one quick thing I want to ask this, because as Brian Hartline walked past me leaving to go to the bus on Saturday, I said, "Hey, good play calling," and he just kind of turned around and kind of gave me a look, like a little smile or whatever. But I really do believe. I don't care who's involved in the play calling and stuff. Brian Hartline is the guy, the offensive coordinator. He's the guy finally making the call. I've been impressed. What's your take?
I have as well. I think, in many cases, media folks and fans are always highly critical when something's not good enough, kind of sort of the way there's some rumblings about it with our ability to run the football. But that is one thing that think back to the 9 games that we played and go, why do you call that then?
Yeah.
And there's always, because, you second guess, we're a bunch of armchair quarterbacks, right? And it's our job to be negative and second guess, right? But you just can't say that. There's not that one play or that one series where you go, what is Hartline doing?
Yeah.
It's just, and I think a lot of it has to do with he's grown into his role. It wasn't handed to him too early. He's prepared for this moment. And oh, by the way, he has probably the most talented group or one of the most talented groups in all of college football.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, real quick. So end of the week, last week, when did you guys get the offer, for Mason to become a Buckeye? Then by the end of the week, word slipped out by hook or crook. Y'all might have been trying to save that till this week. But bottom line is, word gets out that he is committed to Ohio State. Obviously, we all know he committed to Bill Belichick in North Carolina months ago. And just in a nutshell,
Sure.
2 things. Number one, when did that all happen? Because he wanted to be recruited by Ohio State. He didn't want to just be counted on as a legacy. He's got to come here no matter what. But then the tough call about calling the team that had already reached out to you and you had committed to, just kind of all of those, because I knew you'd like to talk about it.
Here's a little behind the scenes look of what the last, say, couple of weeks has looked like. Everything was rosy and fantastic about North Carolina until they really kind of started playing football. right? The product on the field, and a lot of it has to do with the portal, and you're finding Colorado's feeling that pain, West Virginia's feeling that pain. When you got to go get 50 plus players through the portal, it's going to be disjointed and kind of wonky, right?
Right.
And they're building for the future. They have 30, at that time, Mason included 39 commits, in this 2026 class, which is a lot.
Wow.
They're preaching the opportunity to play early. That's fantastic. And believe me, I think they've won 2 in a row in the ACC, and they're getting better, week to week. The one thing that I can say is the communication was very inconsistent from North Carolina, potentially maybe taking for granted. Mason's just going to stay. But when the product on the field and some of the off-field distractions became a thing, other schools that had been recruiting Mason kind of popped back up. All the while, Ohio State and Tyler Bowen, and again, I had a nice message with him as a dad to a coach of his honesty and transparency throughout this process with myself and Mason. I thought was just highly respected by my wife and I. I see a path to this happening, but there's going to be no guarantees. And, this goes back to, as we talked about a little bit, off air, I guess you could say, is Tyler Bowen came into St. Ed's, I want to say maybe back in April, brought cones, brought a camera, brought a bag, and put Mason through an individual workout, probably 15, 20 minutes long, addressed a plethora of things that he does very, very well, kind of like keep doing those things. And then he talked about a couple of things that he wants to show up in his game, that he needs to see improvement. And then there's been, sporadic conversations, here and there throughout the football season. We have not been down for a game, just because, we really we're committed to North Carolina. We're not going to just shop ourselves and come down to a game. And then probably about a month ago, Coach Bowen was a little bit more consistent with his communication with Mason. And this is the way the last week went down. It was, hey, let's both go take care of business on Friday, which Ohio State did. And Mason was actually on a bye in the first round of the playoffs. And then they text each other on like Thursday. Oh, actually, I'll say this. We talked as a family, and I kind of was like, I feel like this Ohio State thing might happen. And we were going to, our next month was going to be coming down to Ohio State, UCLA. We were going to go to Duke, North Carolina, still as a commit, and then possibly official visit at Pitt, who's having an amazing season at 7-2 as well.
Yep.
And that was kind of where we're at. And then Bowen invited us down for the UCLA game, and then Mason. So we have a 90-minute powwow as a family, going like mom, dad, Mason, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then that was on Wednesday night. Thursday, Mason texts with Coach Bowen, and then Bowen gives Mason a call Thursday night. And it's a 35-minute call. I'm putting my little one to bed. My wife's out to dinner with a friend, and then she gets home. I tell her, she's like, no way. So we have another 90-minute, 120-minute powwow, and to talk through the good, the bad, and indifferent, right? Because again, Ohio State is not for everybody, and it's a beast.
Yes.
You've got to want that, right? You got to want what comes with.
You got the two twins there. You got the two twins that are working just to get some playing time.
There's being a Buckeye, and the expectations centered around it, especially as an Ohio kid, are immense. Is this what you want? And we as a family collectively made the decision that Mason was going to commit this weekend. And then Friday he goes to school. We don't tell a soul. It's just a family thing. And Mason goes, I want to call Coach Bowen and commit. And I go, all right. He goes, well, I want you to come up to school. So I drove up to St. Ed's. And what we had to do first is Mason had to call Michael Lombardi, the general manager of North Carolina. Before you can commit, you got to decommit. So, Mason made the grown man conversation himself. It's a short conversation, and we moved on. And then, 5 minutes later, we got Coach Bowen on the line, and Mason committed to being a Buckeye. And and then 10 minutes after that, Coach Day calls Mason. Mason gives him the same message. And
wow,
it's very satisfying, very surreal. Like, it was a wild 24 hours. Mason goes out and they win their playoff game Friday night, which is fantastic. We didn't want it to be a distraction. So we just kind of if somebody said something, we just said, thank you. But we got to go win this game tonight because, being a good teammate, being a leader, still playing well, and winning a state championship are still goals for Mason in the current status of where he's at. But, there's planning, there's excitement. Again, social media goes bananas, and then my phone and my wife's phone blows up for literally probably 12 hours straight. with anybody reaching out to us. But it's humbling, and I think it's very satisfying. And I think the most satisfying thing about it is, and this is what I'll say, just like father to, about his son, but to a coach is, Tyler Bowen saying to Mason, I want to coach you.
Yeah.
And having that like burning desire to develop a young man. I think that's satisfying for me. It just happens to be at the school that I also played at, and they're the number one team in the country. And then I sent that message to Tyler Bowen about, being honest and respectful throughout this process of like leaving the door open and not slamming it shut, but also being very realistic and transparent about, it might take some time. It ain't going to happen just because.
Yeah.
And it was two things. It was Mason has earned this, which is very satisfying for Mason and also for his mom and I. But then more so than that, it was also Tyler Bowen then reiterating is like, I'm so excited about the future. I can't wait to coach your son.
Yeah.
And
true.
So when mom and dad have the opportunity to go, who are the people that we're handing our son off to? You can say with immense, satisfaction that it's an amazing dude at an amazing place that will have, that will push him and mold him and grind him. But he'll come out on the other end, a better human, a better football player, and a better student.
And plus, you don't have to put all your Ohio State gear in mothballs for 4 years.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing. I mean, again, obviously, had it been Pitt's 2 hours and 50 minutes away, Columbus is 2 hours and 10.
Yeah.
So, being at home, and of course, even former players, guys that, my dudes, Clarett and Troy Smith and Jesse Klein and all my buddies, and that are down for most every home game because they live in the Columbus area. It's like, I'm going to be down a lot. You know what I mean? You're going to get used to seeing me because I'm usually just down once or twice a year, So now it's, the home games, so it's a very satisfying, a very surreal moment. But again, at the end of the day, the business is done. And the business that is still at hand is, Mason playing his best football and winning a state championship at St. Ed's.
Yeah. I know you got to go. I want to ask one quick thing. Does revenue sharing come up in the conversation now when you're being recruited? And I don't want you to get into details about that because I know, one way or the other. But is that actually included in the conversation?
So revenue share, this is throughout both at North Carolina, at Pitt, at every place. Revenue share as it relates to the Wilhelm family was not discussed.
Yeah.
Okay. At any point through our recruiting process because of academics, development, winning, culture, brotherhood, all those things that we're prioritizing, over $1, are significantly higher for us. And, we're going to get what we're going to get. You know what I mean? And truthfully, I just feel like it's wild to see these kids making this amount of money fresh out of high school because Mason hasn't done shit yet. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he'll get what Ohio State's going to give him, and he's going to be okay. And he's going to go down.
He'll be happy with it. Yeah,
he's going to be happy with it. He's going to put his head down. He's going to work, and I think that's what's most satisfying about him as well is he's killing it in the classroom. He's killing on the football field. To level up the way that he has. And I don't expect it to stop anytime soon as he now, transitions down to Columbus.
Man, I always appreciate you, Matt. Always enjoy having you on here. Now Matt is a legacy for sure. Mason Wilhelm coming to the fore. Thanks for filling everybody in on that, Matt. Now I guess we'll see you next week. We'll have almost the same conversation, maybe.
We will. Mason and I will be down for the night game against UCLA. So I'll see you in face to face.
You got
it. And then I can give you my, live interpretation of everything as the dad of a recruit and a commit, and also as a former Buckeye watching his team play.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Wilhelm, always Matt on Mondays. See you next week, man.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, always enjoy Matt Wilhelm, ladies and gentlemen. Now he's got his son, Mason Wilhelm's going to be a Buckeye as soon as he signs it's not a letter of intent anymore, financial agreement, whatever it's called. But the bottom line is, he fought his way, worked his way to that offer, and didn't want to be, a legacy from St. Ed's, although that's not where Matt went to school. He wanted to earn that invitation to be a Buckeye, and now he's got it. But we'll be back next week. As you can see, Clay Hall already Amscrade already took the exit because he had places to go, people to see. One of those people is going to be Maurice Hall, who's having a movie premiere here in Columbus middle of this week. We're going to have him on Clay's going to run him down for Wednesday's show. Should be an interesting conversation with former Ohio State running back Maurice Hall. Now, a movie star, movie producer, director, right on down the line. He's getting it done in Hollywood. But that'll be an interesting conversation between Clay Hall and Maurice Hall. I don't know if they're related. I guess we'll find that out before or after that conversation. But until next time, this is Tim May for Clay Hall. We'll see you then.